The Age of Enlightenment, Background and Beginnings. This lecture is designed to give you some background information on the Age of Enlightenment and how it began. You will take the notes on Enlightenment thinkers in your little book of Enlightenment thinkers in your journal. Room for the background information is available on the page that the little book is pasted to. As always, this presentation does not have a long list of notes for you to copy, and therefore I expect you to listen closely to the presentation to get the information you need. We will begin with a historical perspective. During the Middle Ages, monarchs and their governments ruled by divine right, the belief that they received and held their power by God's divine will. Likewise, man was defined by his relationship with God, his sinful nature, and the need to be utterly submissive to the authorities placed over him. This is what allowed the great monarchies of Europe, England, France, Spain, Portugal, and the Netherlands to build great empires and explore the globe. Their power came from the universal belief that God himself had placed them on their thrones and that they were answerable only to him. The general belief about the common man was that he was sinful, greedy, stupid, selfish, and had no rights but those the king gave him. That view began to change during the scientific revolution. The scientific discoveries made during this time changed the way people understood the world around them. They began to believe that science and reason could improve their lives. In the mid-1700s, Sir Isaac Newton published his theories about natural laws, the patterns that control the behavior of the universe. As scientists and other thinkers across Europe came to understand Newton's theories, they began to look for other natural laws. They began to look for natural laws in human behavior. This led to a movement that became known as the Age of Enlightenment, or the Age of Reason, because people believed they could understand the world with their intelligence or reason. This way of thinking affected politics, art, literature, science, and religion. During the Enlightenment, men sought to use scientific principles and methods to understand the nature of man and to design a social and political system that would benefit him rather than overpower him. The thinking of the Enlightenment changed the world and ushered us into the modern age. In 1651, the English writer Thomas Hobbes published a book called Leviathan, which strongly supported the power of royalty and the divine right to rule. Hobbes' thinking developed during the terrible conflicts of the English Civil War, when the king was beheaded and society was turned upside down. He believed that man's true nature was greedy and selfish and needed a king to rule them, and that without a strong monarch to control them, the lives of common men would be solitary, poor, nasty, brutish, and short. As a mathematician, Hobbes' political theory was an effort to make politics into an exact science, like geometry. Hobbes concluded that the nature of humans was competitive, that fear was their most powerful motive for action, and that their natural state was one of war. Many Enlightenment thinkers disagreed with Hobbes' view of human nature. John Locke, another English writer, applied Enlightenment ideas to government and challenged the divine right of kings. John Locke was himself a friend of Sir Isaac Newton and was influenced by Newton's description of the universe as a vast machine operating by precise, unvarying scientific laws. Locke saw men living in a state of nature which was basically reasonable and cooperative, and he thought deeply about the nature of economics, psychology, and religion, as well as politics. In 1690, Locke published a book called Two Treatises of Government, which argued that all people possess certain natural rights when they were born, including the rights to life, liberty, and property. Locke claimed that people should hold the power of government, and that a government should rule only if it followed natural laws and protected people's natural rights. If a government failed to do these things, the people had the right and the duty to overthrow it and form another. Enlightenment thinking was a long way from the old divine right to rule that had been in force for so long. These new ideas were very popular among the educated class. Even kings and queens became familiar with them. This new way of thinking was reflected in the reforms enacted during the reigns of Frederick the Great in Prussia, Catherine the Great in Russia, and Joseph II in Austria, who came to be known as the Enlightened monarchs. I'm going to recommend that you go back over this presentation, take your notes, pause as you need to, rewind as you need to, and make sure that you get all the information.